Live now. Okay, so hi everyone. Great to be here and joined with the wonderful Dylis Guyan. I'm so excited to have you here, Dylis, because you are an amazing sales trainer. I know you've been training lots of people in different companies over the years. You've got a lot of experience, and you're very good with helping them with the whole process, from converting people so that you gain more clients all the way through to retaining them. So I'm looking forward to hearing your nuggets of wisdom today.
Thank you, Shelley. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm delighted.
So what I'd love for you to do is just tell everyone a little bit about you. I've given you a small introduction, but I know there's so much more to share. So if you just say a bit about you and your work, that'd be fab.
Okay, thank you. I think it would probably be a good idea just to share my background and then come forward to today. So I started my career in financial services, in Barclays Financial Services, as a financial advisor. 9 months later, I was promoted to field sales manager, and 6 years later to a regional director, where I was managing 70 advisors, 7 field sales managers, and I was responsible for all of the financial services targets for my bank branches in my region. And I absolutely loved it with a passion. I was like an evangelist. And what I realized very, very early on, when as an advisor, calling people, cold calling in the evening, was that nobody wanted to talk to me about my company or me or life assurance or pensions or income protection. What they wanted was a financial safety net in place so that if their income stopped for whatever reason, they could maintain their standard of living. And that was really early days. And I realized when I was on the phone at like Coronation Street time, you know, people were having dinner, and these were cold calls from letters that went out from a list from the telephone directory. You wouldn't even be allowed to do that these days. But I'm mentioning that because it's so important that people understand it's not about you, your product or your service. It's about what your product or service will do. And so as a field sales manager, as a regional director, I was able to share that vision, share that concept with my people so that they felt as passionate as I did about getting this financial safety net in place. So we were always really successful. We were in the top 5% in the country. People were even moving home to come and live in our region. It was that good. We had such a great reputation. In 1999, we were top in the country. We went to conference. We won everything across the board. And that was in the January. And in the May, the bottom just fell out of my world. I was completely devastated because my boss, who'd been my boss for 7 years, who I highly respected, started this out of the blue, totally unfounded harassment, bullying thing, campaign, whatever you want to call it. And I was crushed, honestly. And to cut a very long story short, I tried to fix it and couldn't. And in the end, I thought, right, you've got 2 choices here. You either shut up and put up or you leave. And so in my wisdom, as a single parent with 2 teenage children, I decided to leave and set up my own consultancy. And I went literally from boardroom to an office in my bedroom and started from a zilch, scratch, nothing. There really wasn't the social media then. There wasn't networking groups and those sort of things. And I literally set my goals, put my plan together and decided who I wanted to work with. And this is another critical aspect. It's about identifying who your ideal client is. Now, because I had so much experience in financial services, I decided that was where I was going to start. So I started with the blue chip financial services companies. I thought I knew I had to keep a roof over my kids' heads. So I've been earning really good money and I had to maintain that. Even in the days when I was head on my arm, crying because I missed the people so much. It really was a dark time. Anyway, I just literally used Yellow Pages, made a list of these blue chip companies and got on the phone and spoke to to gatekeepers, found out who the decision maker was, and then I would ring back the following week. They were much more open then to giving details of decision makers, not so much now, but there's other ways, and I can touch on that later. So that was how, in the first month, I got a contract with Allied Dunbar, Zurich now. Then I went on to work with Norwich Union, Aviva. I did work for Barclays, Barclaycard. And then I got a really unusual piece of work, which was from Thornton's Chocolates.
Wow.
And I worked off and on for them for 8 years, because one of the other things is when you open your mind to working with corporates, and I'm not even talking about the big internationals or even national companies, but bigger corporates, you know, or large SMEs or medium-sized SMEs, or not-for-profit companies or universities. There are so many opportunities where these people have got a budget. You know, it's when you're selling to sole traders or the smaller businesses, when they commit to taking your service, they're often doing this, right? Because it's their bottom line profit, their own. So they're going, do I take on this coach, or do I take the family to Disney on holiday?
Yeah.
It's not like that for the corporates. The big corporates have got the budget to pay, and they'll pay you what you're worth. They'll pay a bigger ticket price. So that was what I was doing anyway. I was working with these big corporates. I was going around the world. I had got a big contract with HSBC, and I travelled across Europe, South America, Canada, America, and again, loving it, because, and here's another element that I want to impress on your listeners or your viewers, is that it's about finding your passion, reminding yourself of why you do what you do. Because really, I should be retired now, but I love doing.
You don't. You have too much to share with us.
I love what I'm doing so much, but there's a deeper thing to this, and I'll show you what it is. Gosh, I could do with a new picture frame. This is my mum and dad. This is my dad when he was demobbed out of the army when he was about 20 something. This is my mother, Laura. She's 95 now. My dad. I'll tell you the story about my dad. So it's my dad that actually spurs me on, because when I was 16, he went bankrupt, and he was a business owner and very, very experienced at what he did. He was an electrical engineer. And, really, really good. But he wasn't really good at sales and marketing. He wasn't really good at bringing in the business. What I find with business owners, that they're expert in what they do, but they're not expert in sales and marketing. And you have to be.
You do.
You just have to be,
Yeah.
So he struggled with the peaks and troughs of cash flow. So he'd have customers, then he wouldn't, and and he struggled on. And then the bank were always getting on to him, and eventually they took a second charge on our house. But nothing changed with his sales and marketing, so it was still peaks and troughs of cash flow. And eventually they foreclosed, and we had the official receivers in. And we ended up having to go to a council house from our house that had a view 30 miles across the valley, a big drive, steps, gardens, and all the rest of it. And there's nothing wrong with council houses, but there is when you don't want to go. It was a very, very sad time. And what made it even worse was that he was a drinker anyway, so I'm not going to pretend he was an angel. He wasn't. And he... this every time I talk about this, it's terrible. It catches my throat. He ended up not just losing his business and his vehicles, and his employees lost their job, and his house. He also lost us, because his behaviour was just. My mother, we couldn't cope with him, and we went up to the council house on our own, and he ended up my grandfather's garden shed for a week, and then a caravan for 3 years. Then they got back together after that time, and he then died in bed next to her with a massive heart attack at 52.
Oh, gosh.
So I do what I do because I am so committed to giving business people and salespeople, actually, but business people particularly, the skills, the steps. That's all you need. You need the steps, and you need the motivation and the encouragement and the inspiration to get over yourself when this negative chatter's going on and you're going, oh, I can't pick the phone up, or I can't do this. Right, nothing great happens inside your comfort zone. You've got to move out of that. And so that, I'm an evangelist doing this as well, sharing the steps and giving people the inspiration and motivation to just go and do it, so that nobody goes through what we did. And when I look back, my dad must have been stressed to death. Well, he was. His behaviour demonstrated that, and I didn't quite get that at the time, So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But about 6 years ago, I was working with these big corporates, working with their sales teams and the sales managers, sales leaders. But I was shattered with the travelling, because I think I'm 27, but clearly I'm not 27, nowhere near. And I thought, right, nudging 40, yeah, I wish. And I decided I was going to change my business model and bring my skills to the SME market, so smaller businesses who are selling to bigger businesses or want to, but they haven't got sales and marketing departments. Some of my clients have got small sales teams, but many haven't. And so I run workshops, I've got private coaching clients, and I've also got an online program, and I'm just working on another online program which is going to be called the B2B Sales Academy. It's not going to be, it is the B2B Sales Academy. So it's a 12-month deep immersion into how to attract, convert, retain more of your ideal clients. So that's me. Thank you for letting me share that, Shelley.
Wow! What journey! And I'm so glad that you shared your story, because I can also relate. My dad had a company for 20 years odd whilst I was growing up, and he struggled, and he did very well at keeping everyone else in jobs. But for us and my mum, it was very stressful because he wasn't always so good at paying himself a salary.
Yeah.
I can relate, growing up with that. And I know that's also influenced me as well with my work.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure it must be.
So wow. So this is how you got into the coaching work. This is your journey. And I'm just wondering, what at this stage now with your business, what's the impact you really want to make with your business?
It's really that, Shelley. It's people having the knowledge and being able to bring clients in, the clients that they want to work with. I'm not talking about any clients. I'm talking about clients that you want to work with, who will pay you your worth, and they value what you do, that you love the work, that it's profitable, and that these people will give you repeat and referral business. And I want that for my clients on a consistent basis. I don't want this. I don't want people going through that. So that's what I want, because the knock-on effect of that is a feeling of satisfaction, of success, of achievement. It has a very positive effect on family, on friends, on your whole life. It gives you options. And I want people to be able to do this with ease. I don't want it where they're jarring against everything and everything is hard. I want it to be an easy flow for people. And that's the impact that I have, that I want people to say, wow, what a difference. And this is what gives me such satisfaction when my clients say to me, wow, what a difference, And I can give you an example, if I may.
That would be amazing.
And actually, this again is close to home. So you've met my mum and dad. I'm going to talk to you about my daughter and son-in-law now.
Lovely, yes, do.
So this is Helen, is my daughter, and Drew, my son-in-law, who run a builder carpentry business.
Fab.
And they started 12 years ago, and he is the least likely person on this earth to start a business, right? And about 2 or 3 years in, I was talking to him one day, and I said, how's it going, Drew? And he said, I'm sick to death. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm so fed up. He said, with these clients that are asking me for quotes. He said, I'm spending hours on these quotes only to find they don't have the money. And then there's those who want extra jobs doing, but they don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
Then I've got clients who are late payers. And he said, worse than that, some of the jobs I'm doing, I hate. He said, because he's a real craftsman. In the beginning, he saw himself as a chippy.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's a master craftsman. He does bespoke conservatories, bespoke kitchens and conversions and so on. He's really top end, but mentally wasn't. Can you just make a note of that so I can come back to it, Shelley? Because this is really important. And he said, they weren't profitable, and he was really unhappy. And I said, so is there anybody that you have worked with that you've loved working with? And he said, oh yes, this one, that one, the other one, and so on. I said, right, come round with Helen and we'll sit down and we'll work out who your best clients are, and we'll profile them. And I know this will resonate with you, Shelley. And it turned out that these clients were all over 40, all professional, all earning like 100,000 plus, all living in the affluent villages in a 20-mile radius of where they live. So all of these Cotswold affluent villages, all work he loved, because it was these bespoke kitchens, it was top-end conservatories, it was work for Burford Garden Centre, if you know that roof-like company, big, good companies as well as individuals. And so I said, right, there's your blueprint. Now let's get into their shoes and see what are they concerned about before they start and work with you. And it was things like they're concerned about communication, no shocks at the end. They wanted good communication all the way through, consideration of the rest of the house, reliability, that if they said they're going to come at 8 o'clock, they come at 8 o'clock. If you're going to start in January, start in January. That they wanted the best materials to fit their budget. So Helen being Helen, she wrote this all down, and she sends that out. She calls it a value letter, and that goes out with every quote. Now, what builder, carpenter, plumber or electrician have you ever had a value letter from?
Absolutely.
Never. So what happened then was, I said, right, here's who the profile of your ideal client. We understand what their challenges are and what they're concerned about. I said, now we need to see, where do they hang out? Where are they? How do we get in front of them? So Helen started marketing to where they were, and the business has transformed. So 12 years now is where they are. So it was probably like 9-10 years ago we had this conversation, and the business just completely changed because he's now got employees, got more vehicles, he's working with top-end clients that he loves. And what's also happened, of course, his income has gone like this, and he has also formed relationships with people who are in with these clients before they come for the builder carpenter. So for the surveyor, for the architect, the interior designer, because these people don't buy a tin of Magnolia paint. They don't go to B&Q for that. They work with interior designers. So Drew now has got relationships with those people, and he's passing them on to similar kinds of clients. So he's got 2 channels. He works with top-end affluent individuals, and he works with businesses who are bigger businesses that can afford to pay him what he's worth.
Oh, fantastic.
And he's just talking this week about taking on a manager, like a project manager, to manage the project so that he can hover.
Yes, he can focus on strategy.
Yes, yeah. And what the other thing I love is that he will say to his employees, that's not how we work at Harris Kite. these are our values. But the thing, I'll just go back, I've remembered, because I sometimes forget.
About the mindset piece.
Yes, and this is really important, is that often people, because I talk a lot now about working with the bigger businesses where people have got the budget, you know, these companies have got the budget to pay you and they will pay you what you're worth. But a lot of people have this negative chatter that goes on that says, either I'm not good enough. Well, let me tell you, you are. And the corporates only deal with other big corporates. Not true. You know, when I started back in, I got my business, I left Barclays in 99 and started in 2000. So I've been going for 19 years. And from a standing start, without anything, I was getting contracts with big companies. Now, there's nothing, people might go, oh yeah, but you are, you know, you've got these skills, those skills. I haven't, I promise you. If you are a leadership coach or a career coach or whatever, let me tell you what you have got, as opposed to these big companies using another big corporate. You have got the skills and the knowledge. You're a practitioner of what you've done. And you can turn on a sixpence. Actually, I need to say turn on a 20 pence piece now, really, don't I? Because you can course correct quickly. With the big corporates, you know, these big kind of institutions that will put a leadership coach or a career coach or whatever type of coach mindset coach, all of these things, they are just employed. And they haven't got that, and they've got all of this bureaucracy. So they've got a process, and they put an employee into a business. They haven't got the passion that you've got. I'm looking at you right directly to say they haven't got the passion you've got. You know, and you, if you're anything like me, I'm always reading and learning and keeping my skills like top end. A lot of these people in companies, they're not upskilled in quite the same way. And so you are good enough. You can approach corporates. And remember, I'm not talking about big internationals. I'm talking about, you know, mid-sized corporates, smaller corporates, large SMEs, so on, non-profits, universities, whatever. So this mindset is often the most difficult thing to overcome, is that there is a thought process that says, I'm not good enough, and they wouldn't talk to me anyway. And the CEO definitely won't talk to me anyway. Well, they will. They will. Because actually they are looking for people like us who are not big corporate companies, who've got that kind of desire and the drive and the skill and the knowledge. You know, you are very, very valuable, and they will pay you. And the other great thing about working for corporates is that you can move through the business and get additional business. So I mentioned Thornton's earlier on. I went in there, first of all, to do leadership training with the store managers, helping them to be more effective managers to ultimately increase revenue through the stores. And during that piece of business, I identified an opportunity that they were absolutely missing in terms of generating corporate business through the retail stores. Because I had been a regional director, and every month used to have this massive meeting, and I used to buy dozens and dozens of bottles of wine for the regional meeting. I could just have easily bought chocolates. Yeah. Only I didn't think about it because they didn't create a top of mind thinking for me. Yeah. So I recognized this, and I put a proposal together and went to the CEO, and I said, you know, here's what I have identified. This would be the opportunity. Here could be a return on investment. Here's what I'm proposing. And he went, do it. So that project lasted, 3 years. Wow. 3 years. Then from there, they asked me to work, you know, Thornton's Direct, where they sell online. They asked me to do a project there, and that was to rewrite the systems, processes, sales processes, and everything. Was massive. And so that was another opportunity. And I've recently this is an unusual piece of work because I don't normally work with heritage sites, but I'm working with a heritage site, and they asked me to come in and do some work on dealing with difficult customer conversations.
Yes.
Of course, is all part of sales, really, and service. Yeah. And from that, they've asked me to do another 5 on top of what I have already done. And then another department, so the lady who asked me to go into her department recommended me, without me even asking, to another department. So I've been doing a similar thing for them, only rather than customer facing, it was more email, telephone type of contact.
Yeah.
Website, TripAdvisor and on their website and so on the Facebook page. And then I went and gave feedback to the seniors, and I've got a huge piece of work to do, leadership training.
Amazing. My goodness.
Yeah. So the opportunities are there in the bigger businesses. I've just been talking to, he's not a client, actually, he's just a colleague. And he's just written to me just like 10 minutes before I started talking to you. And he said, right, I'm ready. I am no longer swimming in shallow waters. I am going for the rivers, in fact, for the sea.
Brilliant.
Because he is in the same position as my son-in-law, my daughter and son-in-law. In terms of, because those smaller clients, he now refers to them, a bit naughty really, calls them his skirting board clients, the kind of bottom end ones, and he doesn't work with them anymore. He's changed his thinking, and he sees himself now as a master craftsman, not a chippy. So
yes, this is really important. It's about changing your own perception of yourself.
Yes. And
allowing yourself to be able to work with the people that you really want to work with, and have the income from that work that sustains you, so you can continue to build your business. Yeah,
and you're not killing yourself because you're doing work with bigger businesses that will pay you a bigger,
absolutely,
fee. Yeah, and they. Oh, I've just lost my train of thought there. What was I talking about there? My phone just buzzed and it just took me.
Yeah, you were saying about you're not killing yourself because you're working with bigger businesses.
That's right. You're not, so you're doing these bigger pieces of work that actually, it doesn't take any more effort, but you're getting paid a higher fee. And so you could either say to yourself, well, right, I'll earn the same fee and I'll really cut my workload down, or you maintain your workload for a higher fee. And people have said to me, yeah, but these are longer contracts, you have to wait till the end to get paid. No, you don't. I do 50% up front of the fee, and then I put invoices in interim payments. It's just how you present it at the beginning. These are the rules of engagement.
You want to work with me, this is what you're going to have to do.
Yeah. So yes, I'm on a mission at the moment, trying to get people to see that really need to be raising the game and thinking about corporate. So
for someone, because I've got a lot of people listening to this who will be wanting to break into working with corporates, but they don't know how to.
Right.
Steps are. Could you just give us a little, step-by-step guide of what to do just to get going?
Indeed. And I'm glad you asked me that, because I was just going to say, and can I give you some how?
Yes.
So first of all, you need to have a written plan and decide who you want to work with. Where does your expertise lie? Go and look at the clients you've worked with and think, where do my best clients lie? What type of business? And just decide who that's going to be. When I first started, it was primarily, in fact, it was all financial services companies, but then other people were approaching me.
Yeah.
And so then you can decide if you want to do that kind of business. But initially I was working with financial services companies. So write out your plan, who you want to work with, what you want to earn. Are you going to work in a geographical area? And I would suggest for people, if you're going to work with corporates, look in your own backyard first to start and work out like this rather than traveling all over the place. And then from there, once you've identified who these clients are, and I'm just giving you a high level here because I can't give you all of the nitty-gritty detail, is then put that onto a list and then put those names into google.com/alerts. So the company names, put them into there. And here's the reason why. And you can select, when you do that, google.com/alerts, put the name of the business in, and you can select weekly, daily, weekly, or monthly for alerts, and then you'll find out anything that's going on across the internet. So here's an example. I had a pharmaceutical company, because I ended up doing work for pharmaceuticals. So I was finding some more, did exactly this, put them on my list, put them into Google Alerts. And one day I got an alert saying they'd issued the financial report, the quarterly financial report. So I had a look in it, and the financial summary in the financial report. And it said something like, the chairman, whatever his name was some Italian name, said, we've had a fantastic year, 20% year-on-year growth, which was phenomenal, really phenomenal. But we're being negatively affected to the tune of 5% on currency fluctuation. So I cut and pasted that into an email. And I'd already found out through some research who the decision maker was. And I sent him an email and I said, "Dear Mark, I noticed from your financial report that your chairman said." And then I just pasted that in. The next paragraph was, I work with other pharmaceutical companies like yourselves, helping them to increase sales revenue to mitigate any kind of currency fluctuation. Now, these days, there's actually products you can get.
Yeah.
There might have been then, I didn't even know. So in my ignorance, I didn't even know that. And I just said, I help increase sales revenue to mitigate losses in currency fluctuation. And then I gave a success story of what I had achieved for another client of mine. If this is of interest to you, please ring me on or please email me at or call me on. Alternatively, I'll call you on Thursday at 8:45. So I'm giving them the opportunity to contact me. And if they didn't, then I was opening the door for me to contact them. I got a reply that morning. Now, I'm not pretending that you always get this, right? But I'm giving you the principles of this. And so I spoke to them and they asked me to go and have a meeting. Then they asked me to present to the board. And when I was presenting to the board, and don't be frightened by this, by the way, these are just other people. Presenting to the board isn't difficult. You just do exactly the same thing as you would do it's about asking questions and doing your thing. And so one of the people on the board said to me, "So Dylis, how did you find out this information?" I said, "Well, I found it in your financial report." He said, "I know that, but how on earth did you find our financial report?" I said, "Because I'm interested in you as a company and I've been following you." And he went, "Oh my God." So my credibility was up here. So it's like, it's knocking your competitors just out of the park before you even start. So ideal client, get them into Google Alerts. And then start and look at, get into their shoes and look at what's the situation now without your product or service. What are the challenges that they're facing? What's the impact of those challenges? And write these words down, please, those who are watching. Which means that. So if you get an impact, you can say, which means that. So let's say you're a leadership coach, and one of the challenges could be that the team
struggling to retain the high level staff.
Yes, right.
And
so the impact of that is that they're leaving, which means they have to re-recruit.
Absolutely.
Which means they have to advertise, they have to bring in CVs, they have to sift time as well as money, because the bottom line impact is always time and money. So somebody has to sift through, select who they're going to interview them, and then train them, and then put them into this environment where it's not, and often they're not trained, so they're just interviewed, selected, and put into the position. And it's rinse and repeat because they haven't had the leadership training. So in terms of getting into the shoes of your ideal client, situation now without your product or service, problems or challenges, impact of those, which means, and you're going down, 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 right? If you can put a cost impact on that is brilliant. And then the benefits of change. What difference would it make? Obviously, it would mean that the leaders wouldn't be, they wouldn't be losing the top performers. But what could they do when they retain those top performers? What difference would that make? Could they expand? Could they put in different processes? Could they refurbish their offices? Could they, whatever, right? Now, if you don't know this, you can go and call someone that you do know and just do some research on it and ask them. And then always be clear about why they should choose you. Why you? What is it about you that makes you different? When you've done that piece of work, so you've identified your ideal client, you've got them onto Google Alerts, you've got them on a list. I've got a lovely monitoring tool if anyone would like it, and I can give you the link to it later, Shelley. Is getting into the shoes and you've got all of that information written down. So if you, like, I've got, again, two strands. So I've got leadership and I've got sales and marketing, right? So my message to those two channels of ideal client are different. The message is different. So I call that the value proposition, by the way, where are they now? What's the challenges? What's the impact? Which means, what are the benefits? Why you? Then you can, once you've got that information, when you do your face-to-face, you just transfer that over into questions. Just into questions. Because it's not for you to tell people you don't know. You don't know what the right fit of your product or service is. And you shouldn't even have been talking about product or service at all until the end of your face-to-face meeting. You can give them an overview of what you're called, what you do, but you don't talk product specific because you don't know what your solution is. So you've done that value proposition. And from that, you can then create your emails, or your networking 40 seconds, or your speaking engagement. So for my speaking engagement, my main speaking topic is attract your ideal clients with ease and avoid the three biggest, this is a strap line, avoid the three biggest mistakes that even smart business owners make that keep sales stagnant and profits paralyzed. And I do 3 mistakes. I do them in reverse order, 3, 2, 1. And I do the what, why, and how of each one. And then it leads to me, if I'm speaking, it leads to me, they have a form where they can either sign up for my free 21 surefire ways to find your ideal client, or rapidly find clients who can afford your prices. That's my monitoring form. Or sign up for a 30-minute profit boosting strategy session. Right? But it's all from this piece of work that you do right up front. Where are they now? What are the challenges? What's the impact? Which means, what's the benefits of change, and why you? When you transfer this over to your questions, when you're in front of a client, not only do you ask them where they are now, you ask them where they want to be. And that really is the thing that makes people emotionally want to change, because they're looking ahead to what they would ideally want. I've just done it with a prospective client this morning, just exactly what I'm saying to you now. And when we talked about, so tell me, what would that look like? How many? And what would you be able to do if you achieve that, and so on and so forth. And then it's just, what are your challenges that might stop you getting there? What's the impact? The other thing that you must ask when you are in front of your client is impact, which means, and what's the financial impact? Because nobody will buy a £50,000 solution if they think they've got a £50 problem. Right? So you've got to get them to that financial impact, because let's say, let's take one of your leadership coaches or a career coach, and let's say that the outcome or the return, or the outcome financially for that business could be £100,000 upwards. Yeah. And it could be, couldn't it?
Yeah, because absolutely.
Because all you have to do, all they have to do is say, oh, so you're losing top performers. How many?
Exactly.
Right. How many each month? All right, this many. Right. Okay. How much does it cost you to recruit one new top performer? Mm-hmm. And also, how long does it take to get them fully effective? And what's the knock-on effect over here financially of maybe losing the customer or other employees having to pick up the slack and so on? And they tell you what it is. So they say that's this many leaving and it costs us this much to recruit and and we're losing this much here. Then you just multiply those two figures up for the month and multiply it by 12. And it's massive, massive. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, and actually it would be more than 100,000, but I'll use that just as an example. Let's say that your fee for the project that you are going to carry out with that bigger client, let's say it's 20,000. So if I said to you, if I asked you to put 20,000 into this machine and it gave you £100,000 out each time, would you put 20,000 in?
Absolutely.
Right. But until you get the numbers,
they don't know that. Yes, exactly.
Can't do it. So you've got to get to that position of asking them, what the numbers are. So I'm going to backtrack again to your value proposition, and my process from there is then I would have researched the company. I would have them in Google Alerts. I'll be completing my monitoring form that I'm going to give you the link to. Then I would find them on LinkedIn. I would find the decision maker. And if you've been, if you don't know who the decision maker is, then just have a look at, or go and talk to a colleague, because there will be somebody that you know. Let's say you were trying to get in for leadership, to do some leadership, and you said to me, Dylis, in this mid-size business, in a mid-size business, who do you know that I could talk to that's the decision maker around looking at improving leadership skills? Not about selling a leadership program, improving leadership skills, right? And I'll go, oh yeah, it's this person. So, all right, would you mind giving me an introduction? So that would be one way, but also it would allow you then to go into LinkedIn and find the person.
Absolutely.
So connect with them and then start and share and like some of their articles and what have you, so that you're getting yourself on the radar. Then send them an email, which grabs their attention. So it's 4 elements: grabs their attention, it raises their interest and lights the fire, it creates the desire, and you've got a call to action. So the way that you grab their attention is either with a trigger event, like the one I explained with that pharmaceutical company, or some research figures, right? Like I use 18.6% of salespeople leave their organization every year, and it takes up to 10.5 months to get a salesperson up and running, fully effective. And I just said, dear so-and-so, I found some research recently from Miller Hyman that I thought you'd be interested in, that says, right, and I quote the numbers. So that's, you're grabbing their attention because it's specific. It's not, they're looking at it and going, flipping heck, yeah, that's us, because these are on average figures. And then I go on, and so that's grabbing their attention. You can do that with a referral as well. Shelley Hutchinson recommended I contact you with regards to increasing your sales revenue, or reducing the ramp-up time for new starters, whatever. And so research or trigger event or referral, then you raise their interest with the what you can do for them. And people like to hear words like increase, decrease, lengthen, shorten, maximize, minimize, those kinds of words, whatever it is, the outcome is. And then a success story. And that creates the desire, because they're saying, oh, wow, if they can do it for them, they could do that for us.
Absolutely.
And then if you're interested in reducing the ramp-up time of your new hires, contact me on, email me at call me on. Alternatively, I'll ring you on Thursday.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right, now, here's the thing. This isn't about doing one. This is about, if you want to fill your pipeline, your prospecting has to be a part of every day.
Absolutely.
And the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more you're able to get into flow.
Absolutely.
So chunk your time for your emails and then make your phone calls.
Yeah.
Because I want to say this with kindness. It's your duty to give your prospective clients the opportunity to say yes or no, not right now. Because if you don't, you're leaving them with the problems that they've got. Find out. Like the businesses where, they need leadership coaches because they're losing the top performers because the leaders aren't leading well. Or career coaches, you've got people who are floundering, just not knowing where to go, what to do. They know all of their
stagnating in their jobs, and
yes.
then they think that maybe they're not any good at what they're doing, and then so they stop putting the effort in, and then they just eventually decide to go and do something completely different.
Yes.
So
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really important that you have this mindset of, because you've got to reframe this. I'm good enough.
Yeah.
First of all, and it's my duty to give people the opportunity to say yes or no, not right now. Might even be no forever, but you've got to give people that opportunity. So do your LinkedIn, get on the radar, send the email, pick up the phone. If they don't answer, leave a voicemail. If they don't, and tell them always next step, always arrange next steps. So if you're leaving a voicemail, sorry I wasn't able to get you today. If you please feel free to ring me on. Alternatively, I'll give you a call next week.
Perfect.
Right. Yeah. And it's not pushy. This is about really being customer focused. It's all about them, and doing it in a way that's caring about your clients and how you can make a difference to their lives. And so, there's some research also shows that only 2% of sales are made on first contact, and it's between the 5th and the 12th that 80% are made. So if all you're doing is sending an email, not getting a response, and then going on to the next one, you're going to be flipping worn out. You're going to be exhausted. So you need to have a multiple contact strategy. And so it can be, this is mine: LinkedIn, email, followed by a phone call either the next day or the day after. Because it's no good leaving it 2 weeks. You've gone off the radar. This needs to be not the same day, but certainly the next day or the day after. Yeah. If they're not there, a voicemail. And then I might send them another email. I might even send them a hard copy letter or a postcard. And then, but I need to work through until I get to talk to them. Right. And you won't win them all. You absolutely won't. And this is another mindset thing, is that rejection isn't a rejection of you. It's a rejection of your product or service at this point in time.
Absolutely. And they might come back. You never know, a few months later.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a numbers game, to a certain extent. You just actually need to keep doing it.
It is. Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more you'll start getting people coming back.
Exactly. There's he's actually a friend of mine now, Jeb Blunt. I'm going to be interviewing him on my podcast very soon, next month. He is like top end B2B, right? He's fabulous. And he says there is a yes in the numbers. He doesn't actually say it's a numbers game, because when you do it professionally, client focused,
with love,
the numbers aren't as big, with love and all of that. But there is a point where there is a yes in your numbers. And this is what my form does. It's like a CRM system, but it's just an Excel spreadsheet, but it allows you to put your prospects on there. So it's a prospect list monitoring form and business development form. Because from your monitoring, you've got a list of all of your clients. You can monitor and see where you are, but you can also see where your tipping point is.
Yeah.
How many contacts do I have to make on average to get a face-to-face meeting? what's my sales cycle? How long is it taking me before I actually get them to sign the contract? And so you've got all of that, and you can look and say, where's my best business coming from? Go back to the beginning and say, gosh, I'm doing really well with universities. I'm doing really well with manufacturers. And just find more. And also you've got your decision maker and where they sit. Yeah. Well, usually my decision maker sits in this position. So it's easier then to start and find them. So ideal client, get in the shoes, do your value proposition, get them into Google Alerts, connect on LinkedIn, develop a bit of a relationship, then get onto their radar, craft your email, phone call, voicemail, another phone call, maybe another email, and so on, and then book the appointment. And send a reminder to make sure that they have remembered, and then simply, and this is very simplistic, there's more to it than this, but in terms of your face-to-face, turn your value proposition round into questions. Yeah. Do all of your prep work before you go to find out as much as you can, really understand them, because that's what will make you stand out from your competitors. That's what will raise your credibility. And maybe I'll come and talk to you about how to overcome objections another time.
Yes, I think we'll need to do that. But Dylis, this has been amazing. You are just, I knew interviewing you was going to be incredible, because so much of my audience have been saying, how do I sell to corporates? How can I actually make this happen? And what you just shared is just literally gold. It's just absolutely giving a step-by-step approach to being able to make this happen. So
excellent.
Thank you so much. And the great thing is that what you've shared works so well, whether you're a leadership coach or a career coach or a mindset coach or a wellness expert, whatever type of coach you are, or trainer or speaker, this is the sort of step-by-steps that you need to take in order to make this happen.
Yes, indeed. And all of these bigger businesses are looking for people like you. I promise you.
Absolutely.
You need the identifying, the HR, the departments, they know where the development areas are. I mean, this heritage site, it's not a huge corporate, but it's quite a big heritage site. The training that they do is incredible. Incredible. They asked me if I would do some teamwork programs, but I just couldn't fit it in. And it's not, I don't actually specialize. I touch on teamwork, and it's very important, but it's not something, I haven't got a program written for teamwork. But all sorts, they've got health and safety, they've got I'm doing leadership there as well. They've got all sorts of training, because they've identified what are the development needs of our people.
And so there's lots of opportunities to get to these companies and be able to offer.
Absolutely. So I hope that's helped, and I don't know if anybody's got any questions, they can always put them in your group and tag me, and I'll answer, and I'll put the links in.
That would be great. Even if you can either post them into the group on the comment section for where the video is, or just send them to me and I'll pop it into the main body of the.
Okay, excellent. And I've got a Facebook group called Inspired Selling, if anybody wants to come into that. And
so it's Inspired Selling. That's all they need to do.
On Facebook, yes, And if they want a 30-minute strategy session with me, go to my website, www.dylisguyan.com. So that's DYLISG for George, UYAN.com, dylisguyan.com. You can sign up for 21 surefire ways to find your ideal client there. And at the bottom of the homepage, you can book a strategy session with me.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. I was just about to ask you about that. So it's great. And
okay.
Dylis, thank you so much. It's been incredible talking to you today. I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
We'll bring you back, because
I'd love to.
Didn't have enough time.
Yes, never enough time.
Absolutely. So And just to say to everyone, we will be carrying on with our successful coach interviews. And we've got more wonderful people like Dylis who are joining us over coming weeks. Usually it's Thursdays at 11, and I will keep you posted via social media about the next time we are actually meeting. So thanks for now, and yes, another big thank you to Dylis as well for today. Amazing.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you. Okay, bye for now, guys.
Bye.